This episode features Kelly Hopkins, who leads defence recruitment at Hayes and lives deep inside the defence ecosystem. Kelly explains what it actually takes to find and place teams at scale. We also get into what founders and career changers usually get wrong and why investing in relationships is the fastest way to progress in defence. Let's dive in. Welcome to the briefing room. Whether you're in defence, investing into the future, or simply curious about how great ideas become reality, this is your mission briefing. Let's get started. Welcome back to the briefing room. I'm extremely excited to have my first female guest in the studio. We've got Kelly Hopkins. Kelly, do you want to give a bit of an intro, who you are and what you do in defence?
Well, firstly, I'm very honoured to be the first female guest.
I've had other female guests, but online. I'm just talking about in this room.
Person.
In person.
Yeah, no, I'll be first female in person. I work in the defence industry, so I run a defence division for Hayes, which is an international recruitment company, and then I work in various community groups as a side in the industry.
I think it's going to take us a little while to
That's
unpack,
a long
unpack
list.
them all.
Yes.
All right, so talk to me about Hayes. It's recruitment. How long have you been doing that?
I've actually had this the other day when I looked at LinkedIn. I went, oh my God, I've been back nearly 16 years.
16 years in Hayes?
In Hayes.
Right.
It's a long...
Always in defence, or has that been a transition to move into the defence sector?
Defence was over a decade ago. So that was a key strategic division. It's been a sector of ours for 15 years. But with the defence division and how we do defence in Australia growing, I was given a project to sit back and say, look at how it's set up in Australia. How do we better service our clients that are getting bigger and more complicated needs? Yeah. I put the strategy together, and the next second they went, great, can you be part of implementing that, running it, pulling it apart?
One thing is develop. You got to learn, okay? If you develop a good strategy, they're going to want you to implement it.
Execute it.
But
it was the perfect timing for us as a business because it was, as like I said, we'd gone from sustainment and acquisition projects in Australia where we started to really see investment in building and new innovation in tech. So how was the start of this process has now become really exciting. We're seeing things that not even Google knows what they are.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's pretty amazing.
In terms of you've had to Google it to work out what you're supposed to be looking for.
100%.
So, okay, defence recruitment. Who are we recruiting for? Can you give me some examples? Give me some sort of types of companies.
It's everything from your big primes.
Okay.
So your Taluses and your Boeings and your Northrop Grummans that have large projects, big needs, large workforces across the country. As you can imagine, logistically, finding humans in remote base areas is difficult, but it's all the way down to SMEs, to companies that are scaling, winning direct acquisition projects. So it's a very broad mix of anyone in defence.
And so to be able to, like most recruiters, you have to have deep connections into the ecosystem or industry to build those personal relationships so they trust you, not just think you're a dirty old recruiter, stalking them on LinkedIn, to build those relationships so that you can place the right people in the roles. And I know that you do invest a lot of your time into the ecosystem. You go to the events, you're very plugged in. That has not happened overnight. So in terms of finding the right people, how close have you had to get to actual defence personnel currently serving or veterans?
Well, for one, you're correct. It's the hardest recruitment you ever have to do because when you're looking for humans, everything's redacted and there is information which is classified. So you can't just go on LinkedIn and search on certain components or we need this technology. So having an ecosystem to find people, but not just that, to learn. I think what people forget is recruitment consultants and recruiters understand how to recruit, but we're not engineers.
No.
So to have a group of people that you can go to and say, help me understand this and explain this to me and what is this technology and what's important.
So that I can find the right person.
Exactly. And then having a broad ecosystem is so you're connected to the humans doing the work and they'll either make referrals or you can find them at end of projects. So it's the ecosystem which builds the capability. It's very rare to put an ad-on so you can find people for this. Person. Yeah. But it's good challenging because I think it's that partnership between us and companies where it's a very reliant need and it's a very trusted space because they know that we understand their parameters and their concerns and their levels of classification. So that trust and that honesty, and particularly in the defence industry where everyone is quite at forefront of being honest and straight talking, it just builds a different level of partnership overall.
So usually people who have sort of involved in the defence sector have a personal connection. Do you have any personal connections to the defence sector? History, parents, grandparents?
Military family.
Yep.
My mum, very proud, dad of their family and how they were brought up, generations of Army, one Air Force pilot by default. I always laugh at the story that my granddad was enlisted in World War II and his little brother was 14 and followed him to Germany
Oh my gosh.
in the Army. And he got there and the Army said, "You're 14." And they sent him home. The Air Force went, "You can fly a crop plane." And they sent him back in a plane.
No way.
100%. So it's a very sort of, and I think too, agricultural families, they were very proud of protecting their country and their people and their land. So when someone said to me, you can take all that things that you love and the technology and being a total nerd about planes and warehouses and machines and take all of that passion you have for the veteran community and combine it in one, for me, it was a no-brainer. And I think it's that defence is perfect because we are working in an industry which is critically important for national security. At the end of the day, anything we produce or any component as part of that is to protect soldiers on frontline, which is to hopefully bring them home.
Yes.
So I think that's that personal connection that makes people really passionate. And there's a lot of people like you where everyone's involved for that reason. It's to stop.
I think our mission is the same.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Obviously, we see a lot of things in the innovation space. So people starting new ideas or new businesses, entrepreneurs, people becoming founders after serving or currently serving and maybe identifying an idea. There is probably this similar transition from serving to then entering into the business landscape. How do you work with those in the transition phase? And is there some key things that you notice in terms of that makes it easier to transition into the corporate landscape after being involved in the military?
It's really two cohorts of people. It's a group of people that come out really prepared and have tested the waters, had a look at what they need to do. So they have been mission focused in that transition. They have studied, they've got MBAs.
Yeah, right.
Generally, it's the people that have seen a piece missing in the industry which they can add value to. So they've done through every process. So when they come out, it'll be starting their own business or working for an organisation to give capability, because I think Defence forgets with veterans, they're the end user.
Yes.
So to incorporate them back into the company, you've got
Pretty
someone,
powerful.
100%, you've got that user group. So the flip side of that is people that come out, which is fair enough, that don't know what's next and are very sheltered and don't know where to look. And that can be a slower transition, but defence industry may not be right for them. There's a big wide world to learn about and they've got to learn what civilian life is like and what opportunities exist. So I think that's why the ecosystem's important, because there's not one size shoe that fits all.
Yes.
So if we can refer people and introduce them to new friends and rebuild back a community that they can get really tangible advice, that just helps to walk that path in a bit of an easier way for them.
Yeah. We were speaking before around scaling companies, and as companies grow, they might have been an SME, small to medium enterprise, or they could be a new startup and that might be going through a growth phase. And to be able to grow and take the organisation to the next level, they need a certain level of expertise. Often, founders find it really difficult to backfill the capability that they may have started the organisation with, or a smaller business that's been operating the same way don't know what they need. So they rely on people like yourselves to come in and help them to scale, but you need to have an understanding of the scaling process to be able to put the right people in there. So you've got to know both sides. How do you manage supporting those companies through the growth phase, through the people and resource lens?
It's a very good question. And I think my dad was a serial entrepreneur.
Okay.
And I think it's good to see it from that lens where when you're a business owner, you are at the mercy of your business for 365 days of the year.
Yes.
24 hours a day. And I think the onus of responsibility of putting humans on when you know you're responsible for their livelihoods, that is a big burden to bear for a lot of people. So the scale point is what I found has always been that fear factor. Not everyone that owns and runs a business is a natural leader.
No, they're not.
They're not. So to win a project is exciting, and then to look at something and say we need to scale in a way, in a fashion which is not just methodical, but in a way sensibly, so you can take the outputs of work and we can put together a schedule and we can look at what humans that you need now and do a plan is really hard for a founder, because every time you hire a new person, you lose control. and you have a vision of
Or
what
there's
you
sometimes
need.
it's the perception of losing
Perception
control.
of losing control. Exactly.
Yeah.
But that
Whereas delegation is probably a better way to frame it. However, it feels like a loss of control.
you said that perfectly. And it's that ability to be able to say, the more people I have operationally, the more people I have to feed it up to me. So I can
Yes.
do what I do best, which is sell my business and speak about my product. But it's hard to let go. So I think what I've learned is working through these processes to really work with leaders and founders to say that what you need now is not what you'll need in 3 years. What you think that you need from a people's perspective and a personality perspective is not correct. And you can't have clones of yourself. They won't challenge you.
Yes.
And you have to try and build diverse teams, which can look at products and capability and test that innovation level. And it is something that you do have to hold hands through every step because, again, it's a big investment, right? Yep. But when it works well because people do have an open mind and they look at things quite liberally and they're willing to take a chance and also to not think they're creating a village of little like-minded humans.
Yes, that's right. You're not going to really grow.
No.
Very well.
So it's interesting process.
It is but you would be learning along the way.
It's
every project you get to
100%.
upskill.
Yeah, 100%. And you're learning about a new way of business. So I've just gone through a rapid acquisition project and it was a rapid manufacturing project where risk we needed. So we were looking for people that had a high risk appetite because the way that we're engineering now is to test and fail and redesign.
Right.
And for engineers, that's a scary place to be in.
Yes.
Right? So it was such an interesting process to go through these people that I even look up to in the industry and I know how highly regarded. And their honesty was like, we're not ready for this level of manufacturing. We don't feel comfortable in that risk. This is the group of humans that you need to look for.
Right.
So it's now a bit of the changing of guard and even learning the technology or how older applications are being. It's just fascinating. And to think that we can mass produce these products at such a low cost model is just mind-boggling. It's amazing. It's fun.
And you often wouldn't know what card you're going to be dealt until you maybe get the inquiry or the phone call from the organisation and what they're looking for.
I didn't even know what I was working on until 6 months into that project. I wasn't allowed to know the full product.
Oh, okay. So it was that classified.
That classified.
Oh, right. Okay. So that's really hard to recruit for.
Wasn't allowed to tell the humans where they were working.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
How do you even do that?
Very difficultly.
Wow.
But
you did it.
We did it.
Did we place somebody?
We placed a whole team.
A whole team?
A whole team. We scaled a business. I think it was from 17 to 85 in the end.
85 people.
Full manufacturing facility all the way through to operations management.
Is this Queensland based?
Adelaide.
Well, it's good. Let's just take it as a positive note that we are scaling manufacturing capability here in Australia.
Oh, and looking at giving people opportunities to work in defence.
Absolutely.
Which was the amazing thing. I think all I had to say to people was that it was a rapid warfare project and they just said yes without knowing.
Really?
Yeah.
It's exciting. I spent a lot of time at QT and I worked with a lot of the engineering students. And all I can say is I wish I had the knowledge and the insight that I have now about defence and space and the opportunity what's coming in the future to tell those students 5 years ago that this is the industry that was coming, because it was almost like the job opportunities weren't that exciting. They were there, but it wasn't here. It was like they needed to go overseas. Whereas now you're talking about what we have right here for pathways for young engineers and really smart people, capable specialists, especially in hardware and manufacturing, to be able to utilise their skills here.
Robotics and mechatronics.
Massive.
And AI functionality into coding.
Which is even better because these students who are graduating now were the students who did STEM in prep. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
The students that are graduating in 2025, we weren't introducing to STEM programs as a little trial. It was embedded into schools, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at, and that's what the world looks like for those students exiting now, which is so positive.
But this is the exciting thing too for businesses because now they have a capability to build a mentoring team. So you've got really established engineers, working, and they've seen it all, peaks and troughs. And then you've got the next generation coming through, and all technology is best when it's new technology.
Yes.
And now the two can work together and they're teaching each other and they're mentoring and the old guard are learning things that they would have never envisioned. I remember I spoke a few weeks ago to a gentleman and he's been engineering for 50 years. And he said, I just saw AI software code a whole project in an hour.
Yeah, which he would have taken previously like 6 weeks, a 6-week project easy.
Easy.
Yep.
He's like 1 hour, we were done. And he's like, what
The
the
key
heck?
is to keep those guys still in the game. Because we need their level of maturity and lifelong acquired wisdom to apply that to the projects with the bonus of utilising the technology and speed that's available, not for them to feel overwhelmed and exit.
Well, and they want to learn.
Yes.
We're getting to a place now where they could have never even visioned. So they're excited.
Mm.
You know, things that they thought, oh, we can't do this or we don't have the money to do it or it's going to take too long.
Mm.
Now they can do that. So the level of excitement from that group,
Yeah.
you know, and now they can work in unmanned or uncrewed. And they're like, we would have never envisioned that we would have planes in the air which are remote controlled.
No.
Best day ever.
Yeah.
So
it was a pipe dream, but it wasn't. It's something they may not have thought that would come to fruition. I always think of the Back to the Future movies as a kid, and you look at all these things, you're like, I can imagine a lot of things, but those flying cars, seriously, it's
my flying hoverboard. Where are
Everyone's
all these
still waiting for the
things?
hoverboard. Now, no one's really worried about the hoverboard so much anymore, but it's more just that everything in there is a reality.
Mm.
And it's a reality right now, whether we're seeing it on the streets yet, but it's definitely coming. So talk to me a bit more about the things outside of recruitment. You're deeply embedded into the defence/innovation entrepreneurial ecosystem through various initiatives. What are some of those ones that you get involved with?
We've got Defence Industry Networking, Defence in Business, Women in Defence Association,
Yeah.
wider, VEDX.
Yes.
Essentially, anything that can add value to the defence industry, bringing groups of people together, understanding that there is different groups that have different needs. That led to then Tim and I creating the Meet the Primes program, which was a supply chain component where we saw amazing ideas like you see every day. Founders knowing they could plug gaps, but people don't know what those gaps were to be plugged. So
you got the primes involved.
Got the primes involved, created direct introductions. But I think that's the key.
Is that working, that program in particular, or that group or initiative?
It worked far too well
for
the years that we ran it, and it got adopted into the global supply chain. Essentially, they're running it themselves now as that component because it was necessary. And I think what the industry didn't understand, or maybe the government, was that when you're a prime and you're looking for a long list of suppliers on a supply chain with components that you're not even aware of, you can't go out to an industrial base of SMEs, which are that big, and pinpoint and vet. So to be able to say this is our capability and shortfalls and this is the area of need and have someone else come and say, well, we'll volunteer to do it for you.
Yes.
And we'll do all the vetting and we'll make sure they're defence ready and we will do a direct introduction. They were more pleased because they were too busy to do it themselves, but they uncovered companies that they would have never met because they're across different parts of Australia.
Yes.
So it was the dispersed nature of the industry and where startups were coming from, which was causing those gaps of capability. So that was probably one of the most exciting things we did because we were getting phone calls saying, we got a contract. We got 2 contracts.
Like
we're signed up.
Yeah.
We're signed up to Boeing overseas. We've just been taken into a space program over in the US and now we're building capability and working with NASA. Like who would have envisioned that would happen?
So how do you get involved now? If that's been absorbed and they run it as their own, the primes that is, how does the founder on the outside plug in now?
We say all the time, you need to, if you want to be in the industry, you need to come and build an ecosystem based on everything other than yourself. I think a lot of founders and business
going
startups,
out for themselves.
They'll come in and they'll pitch.
Yes.
And
how can you help me?
Exactly.
Opposed to what can I do for you?
Exactly. And who are you as a human? And do you like dogs? Basic
like
questions.
Build some basic trust.
Exactly.
Build a relationship. Yeah, okay.
Build the rapport. Understand where they'll fit in to be better prepared to then have a pitch which is relevant to that community. So you're not wasting not just your time, but others. And once you're in the community and giving back and understanding where
the introductions will come.
Yeah. So you have to do the legwork. And I find that the most successful organizations come in with that mindset where it's, we're not expecting a favor. We're willing to be involved and do the legwork. We can't be gifted this opportunity.
No.
We've already been gifted the opportunity for a foot in the door. And I don't think there's any other industry in Australia that has so many events specifically catered for.
I used to think tech did. And it has definitely died off because the hype around it. And now it was less of a shiny thing and now it's just the way we do business. and the startup sector, and it's very much embedded everywhere, whereas defence is definitely a very busy space if you're in it. On the outside, you still don't know it's happening. It's like you walk into this Aladdin's cave of like, oh my goodness, there's this and there's that group and those people. If you're into that specific thing with that, rabbit hole, you can go down that rabbit hole. There seems to be a lot going on, but you have no idea from the outside until you step in.
You're in, yeah.
Or you meet someone, for example, like yourself, and then you go, come with me and I'm going to introduce you. And all of a sudden you're like, how did I not know any of this existed?
But it really makes sense, doesn't it? Because it's so classified.
It is.
Your only option is to do things in person.
Yes.
You can't disseminate information on the internet.
You're not going to do your keyboard research the same as going literally one defence networking event.
Yeah.
You will meet 3 people that will open some significant doors.
Well, and people that vouch for you as a human. I think that's a big takeaway when they say,
well, it's a trust-based sector.
Yeah. I like you. I like the cut of your jib, to give an old school saying.
Yes.
You've got a level of humility. I will put my name against you and introduce you to people.
It's definitely not something you go to once and hope for the best and expect some results. You have to do time.
Yeah. But people are willing to help, which I think is phenomenal. I've seen so many small businesses come in and people will stop and say, let me help you. This is how you should approach this. Have you thought about doing this? Are you prepared? And I'm like, it's very kind of a community to be able to say, we're so invested in this doing well as a group. We'll bring everyone along for the journey.
Yes.
Which is quite phenomenal when you sit back and you go, oh, that actually does work. And it's working outside of the government, which I love because defence industry is leading that.
It is, yeah. And that's where we will end up seeing change when the change occurs outside of that. Now, you would meet a lot of people, and large part of our audience is founders who are looking to pitch their ideas, or they've got a solution and they're looking for the right problem to apply it to, or they have identified a problem and they're building a solution. Now, at the events, what is the best way to maybe approach somebody or to go and ask a question, get some help? Where would you direct, like out of all these different events, it can seem confusing and overwhelming. Where would you direct people to go to?
A friendly face, and don't overcomplicate it. Just the power of introducing yourself and shaking a hand, but also to having the humility to realize when you're in an uncomfortable space, the simplest thing you can do is have a conversation with someone, and it's not about work. So I think, how's your day going? Just a very basic. Yeah, this is so huge.
Don't go into pitch mode straight away.
No.
Just go and build a connection.
Go and build a connection. And it's so easy to do when you're in that room and you really think about it. If you're at a massive conference, the easiest thing you can do is turn around to your neighbour and go, oh, there's no water. Yeah. Or isn't this massive? It's just.
Networking 101.
Yeah. Like if you break it down, it's just a very simple start. And you will be very hard pressed to find someone that won't engage with you or turn around and be like, oh, my feet hurt. So it's not difficult to start that, but I feel like a lot of people get so worked up in the process and so caught up in their head, they forget the one factor that everyone in that room is just a human. My second point is never underestimate any human. I've seen a lot of people look for people in fancy suits with badges. Now, most of this industry will go incognito, and a CEO could be there in sweatpants or, we can't talk to that person. They're an administrator. Every single person is in that room because they're meant to be in that room, and you never know who they know or how they might connect you, and how you present yourself may be fed back to someone else. So how you behave, how you act, your level of kindness and humility, it all counts. So I've always said to people, if you're not having a good day or you are nervous, exit the room. Don't attempt to be in that space when you don't have a good mindset of doing it. But the connection piece is so simple because it is just that basic step. You're not opening a schematic for an engineering design saying, what about this?
Yes, yeah.
So,
I mean, you give a lot of your time. A lot of these events happen in the evening, and it takes a lot of energy and personal time to invest and give, because you're not going and getting a lot out of this yourself in terms of for work-related things. I know that you'll be doing your recruitment work when you do your recruitment work, but this is more of a deep, deep connection to the ecosystem. Why do you give your time?
When I'm really overwhelmed, I often ask myself that question. The bags at the moment too, because there's been no sleep. People are a very interesting commodity, and I think that's why I've worked in this industry for so long. I'm genuinely fascinated by how people work, and I think that if you're in a position where you can help people get a step ahead or give them a moment of understanding. That's where I hold value. It's not convenient going to events after hours,
No.
There's no time to do follow-ups.
Especially when you live like 45 to an hour away.
Exactly, right? When you're living away from the city, I don't think people ever equate the human behind some of these.
No.
You're driving in an hour each way. You're getting messages until midnight.
Mhm.
You're waking up to messages asking you for things.
Yes.
You're never asked how you are.
No.
You're a catalyst for people wanting things.
Mhm.
And it can be difficult.
Yep.
And, you do get to a point where you're like,
Why am I doing
why
this?
am I doing this?
Yes.
Why? But
there is a reason you're doing it.
Well, and that's the thing. You have to put all that aside. And I'm hopeless at boundaries, so that's my own fault. But I do feel that you can see it work and you can see people really shine and you can encourage people to do well and make them step outside of their comfort zone. And I'm absolutely horrendous for it because I'll say to someone, best worst advice, don't take it myself, but you've got something and you've got sparkle and you have to go and do this. But I feel like if people didn't do that and people didn't give up their time, nothing would exist. So,
Yeah, look, a little bit of encouragement and support does go a really long way. I've learned that, especially in this early stage phase where people are at the considering what to do next stage. And we've seen that. You were a big part of the TAC Hack that we hosted last year. So the hackathon is a perfect example of everything we've just spoken about, but compressed into 2 to 3 days, where you get a bunch of people all looking to do something. No one really knows where to start. They all have something to offer. They don't know where their value is going to be best utilised. And then you've got all these support people around the outside making it all happen, like pulling the puppet strings almost to sort of manipulate and hopefully, in a good way, encourage these things to happen and to make those connections. So the power of those events are critical in terms of growing this ecosystem. But I think what I feel where defence is where tech was 10 years ago. And we get to see the benefits of that now. And we have Brisbane companies with big buildings in the city with their names up in lights. And I hope that we get to do the same with defence and the sector there. Do you have the same sort of vision in terms of we're creating some really big opportunities at the grassroots?
Absolutely. But I think, isn't that the power of a defence industrial base and that sort of cash? One idea can turn into $1 billion success overnight if it could. I love the example of TAC Hack as the event.
Yes.
And I think the thing that made that special was that it took mentors.
Yes.
Obviously, you all running around behind the scenes, putting it together.
We were just feeding people.
Yeah.
It's a very critical part. Must keep people fed.
But just to see industry coming together as mentors, the next generation coming through genuinely excited and wanting to learn, blown away by what they had developed in such a short period of time. The fact then they stood in front of people to pitch.
Exactly.
And
you had a
having
mix
that
of employees from organisations who would love to put forward an idea but maybe just didn't ever have the right vehicle or reason to do it in their jobs. Then you had young students who were still studying who had actual genius solutions to things. It could be definitely deployed into industry immediately, but in their minds, I'm just a student. All of those people in the room, plus, like you said, the people who would normally be considered too intimidating to approach at a conference because they might be suited up with all of their, levels that maybe put people off, whereas they're just in the casual outfit on the weekend, very approachable, but also more than happy to help and share their knowledge.
I will never forget over Sam, that I still speak to, and he's still brilliant behind the scenes.
Yes.
Didn't have the confidence to run the group.
Yes.
Did it, smash it.
Yes.
Didn't have the confidence to present it, albeit they were amazing, and defended himself against Steve.
Yes.
And fiercely so.
Yes.
Politely and respectfully, but backed their technology and backed their design, and just watching his face when he walked away, because I think he knew that he did it. And who else would get an opportunity at 22?
No, you would never, no.
To be in that room
in front of those people, that caliber of people, sharing your idea.
Imagine that moment, and he is a creator himself, as you know. Imagine that as a critical moment for him a decade later.
Totally.
He'll think about that and he'll be like, if I wasn't in that room and if I didn't do that pitch and if I didn't understand a process. And
exactly.
That's what they do.
Or be encouraged to get up and do the thing. Yeah, I do. I hold a special place. There's a special place in my heart for those types of events because it's proven to me. I've led enough to know that there are actual valuable outcomes that the industry benefits from those simple activities of putting everyone in a room and saying, go solve some problems.
Yeah. And I hate quoting Steve because I very rarely take people's advice. As in when they say something, memes and kittens
Yes.
quotes.
Yes.
But he did say something to me a few years ago, and I've given him credit for it, where he said, you can't have an opinion on things unless you understand them or are involved.
That's right. Or you're involved with this part of the solution.
Yeah. And that's always resonated. And I went, that's true, because you don't know what you're talking about. You don't come from a place of credibility. It's not your job to be in that lane. And that changed my mindset of what we were talking about before, is why do you give so much?
Yes.
If I didn't, I wouldn't learn. I wouldn't have the information. I wouldn't have the network to help people. And I wouldn't have an understanding of how I can connect the dots.
Yes.
And that was a game changer for me, because I went, well, that makes total sense.
So shifting gears, if somebody is sitting on the periphery, think I would like a bit of a career change, I'd love to get involved in the defence sector. I have no connections. I have no reason to be there. I might be experienced in some other area. That could be, let's just say, someone in marketing and wants to get involved in this sector. How do we start plugging in here?
Well, this is the hard part about this sector, because we generally led through clearances. And unless people have clearances that can be reinstated for particular parts of work, they don't have entry.
No.
And in operational roles, a lot easier, because finance, marketing don't have to look at a lot of clear to start. So they can come in, a company will sponsor a baseline and work them through the stack. I think when they come along to events, there is an opportunity to start in a smaller defence sector, which is the growing SME industrial base and manufacturing companies, where there's two parts of their business, a defence and a non.
Yes.
So coming to events, understanding what the industry is, because it's so different, then you see why you're special and why you can do a bit of a crossover career. Because back in the day, we used to pull everyone from rail projects for system engineering roles in defence, because it's similar technology and design process. And so there is crossovers, but to get into an organisation and understand it and see where you fit before you make a life-changing decision on your career, it is important to be in that room to understand the why. So we always say to people, come to an event, meet the humans, speak about the projects. Also too, now come into an environment that you don't know. You might be in a base. You won't have access potentially to a mobile phone for 10 hours a day. Do you need your phone to speak to your family? You may have to travel. There will be parts of your role where you'll never be able to discuss with humans around you. How does that feel?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that people don't think about, which would be hard, particularly if you're used to coming home and going, this was my day and this is what happened. Those conversations aren't spoken about around the dinner table anymore.
No.
So work from home may not, because it's not set up to be in a classified environment. So there's things that people don't think about before they go, I'd love to work in defence, which they need to come and see it in a real life operating environment, because then they can consider it.
There's always a supporting network or ecosystem roles, right? So as in there is lots of those organisations, whether it's the networking, the events, those types of things. I mean, I'm come from a very different background, still have the ability to be involved in defence. So there is lots of options, but I think that all roads are leading to the same answer, which is come and get involved, plug in, talk to some people, and see where it goes from there, and see if you get a feel from it. When you're not doing any of this recruitment, defence, supporting ecosystem, what does Kelly do in her spare time?
Not much currently. There's a lot going on. The industry's busy.
Shall I reframe it?
Yeah.
What would Kelly like
to do?
Not in her spare time, but if she had
when we have spare time,
when she gets better at creating boundaries,
exactly.
What would Kelly be doing?
No, I do things. I always say to people, I do things. I do. Well, it's more opportunities. We have to be smart and plan things out now 12 months in advance. So it's a lot of live music.
Okay.
Love live music. Obviously a bit of a farm kid, so there's a lot of country music concerts.
Yeah, right. I was going to ask, what is the genre?
Oh, well, I'll be seeing White Flores on my birthday in a few weeks.
Really?
Get onto that playlist, kids, on Spotify. No, I just general things. Don't like planning a lot of things. I'm a bit of a last minute person. So seeing friends, driving, adventures.
Yep.
I love house stuff. I love cleaning. I know I love an organized space. It's at the end of the week, if I can't at least spend a day.
It's the ultimate reset.
It's
so good.
And when you finish every single task.
It makes me happy too.
Yeah. And you light a candle and you sit down and you're like.
See, we could hang out together.
Perfection, right? It's just one part of a chaotic environment that you can control, all the way through to the backyard. Mowing, gardening, all of it. House renovating.
Whippersnippering. It's so good.
I mean, people think that's boring. I
No,
love
I
this
love
stuff.
it too. I love it too. We could absolutely share a house, no problem at all. Maybe that's why we like the military, because it's very organised and there's rules and boundaries and there's structure.
Yeah.
This is good. We could go on forever. Is there anything there that we didn't cover that you would love to? Any key messages?
It's a very good question. And I'm highly caffeinated, so I thought I'd be a lot more chatty today.
You have definitely filled the airtime.
No, I think it's a real privilege to work in this industry. I think that's what people should remember, particularly when it's going out to founders and investors.
I think it has a large impact. It's not meaningless work.
It's really not. And I think everyone that works in this has a reason why. I think if people are in the industry, they understand. I think people from the outside looking in, wanting to be involved, what a great opportunity to meet really good humans. And I think that's the one thing people get out of it. It's, yes, morally and ethically something that you can say, I'm actually creating change.
Yes.
Which a lot of
industries. Part of a solution.
Part of a solution. A lot of industries you won't get that. But I think too, there's not many industries where you can walk away and say, that person would pass my beer test. I would take that person down.
Yes.
To the pub.
Yes.
And sit with them and talk to them.
It's true. I have found that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I think that's my advice, is that industries are people-led. People always talk about capability and technology, but nothing is done without a human, which is interesting.
Especially in this sector. But it's very much human-led.
Yeah. I think that's what makes it special.
Perfect. Well, I think that's an excellent note to end on. So thank you so much for your time. It's been an amazing journey. We've looped in all different directions, but definitely I think our listeners will get a lot out of that, especially if they're sitting on the sidelines or a little bit lost, or maybe lacking a bit of direction in terms of how to get involved, what is the hype all about, and how to best plug in, and also how to give back. If you've been looking for a way to maybe connect or make a deeper connection in the sector or make it mean something, giving first and participating is the key.
That's summed up perfectly. I love that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us in the briefing room. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with the people shaping our national security and future capability. If you liked what you heard, please follow the show, share it with a friend, and join us next time for more stories and insights from the front lines of innovation. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep building the future.